In the most recent update for GTA Online, the hangar business went from the worst to potentially the best way to make money in the entire game, which is why in today's video I'm going to grind it out and see how it compares to the reigning #1 way to make money, the Cayo Perico Heist. So I started off by heading over to my hangar, which is one of the ones in Fort Zancudo, and that is because they are by far the best location for all of these sourcing missions. Now, the reason why the business has become so good recently is because they just got a massive buff where they've added new land, source, and sell missions, where the source missions are very simple. Most of them can be done in 3 to 5 minutes, assuming you have a vehicle like the Sparrow or the Raiju, and the sell missions now guarantee 1 sell vehicle. You could have up to 10 deliveries, but it does make it completely solo friendly. Now, the business is very simple to CEO cargo, where we go out, we source crates, we bring them back, and we sell them on for a profit, except we can only source 1 crate at a time. So in order to get a full warehouse, you have to do 50 source missions, but now because these source missions are on average 3 to 5 minutes, it can be done in about 4 hours. And that was my plan going into it. I decided to source 2 different types of product back to back to back so that I could skip the cooldown, and then at the very end, once I have 25 crates of each, I would sell them on for a total of $3 million. So the 2 types of cargo I decided to source was narcotics and chemicals, because they are 2 of the top 3 paying cargo, with the 3rd one being medical supplies. When it came to the source missions, there was 4 different types of missions that we could get. One of them I made sure to skip every single time. If it told me to go to Paleto Bay, Alamo Sea, or El Burro Heights, I completely skipped it by logging into a new session and restarting a new source mission. But the other 3 was fairly easy to do. If it told me to infiltrate a deal, all I had to do was fly over to the location. There would be a large red trailer there. I then would put the Raiju into hover mode and take out the trailer with the cannons, because if you destroy it, the cargo will drop. From there, I could just drop down, pick it up, and fly away. Those missions were pretty quick, and if it was at the location closest to Fort Zancudo, it would take about 2.5 to 3 minutes. The other mission I got a lot was directing me to go to Sandy Shores Airfield. Once I get there, it will redirect me to a crash site where there's going to be cargo laying in the field. For this one, I had a little bit of trouble. I tried to continuously drop down and pick it up while in hover mode, but for some reason it glitches out. So I suggest, if you're going to do this with a Raiju, land the plane, hop out, pick it up, and then fly away. It makes it so much easier. And finally, if it tells me to go to La Mesa or Richmond, all I'm doing is heading over to a garage or a warehouse, taking out a generator, running inside, picking up the cargo, and flying away. Those are very simple to do. Now, something interesting that I found was, once I started doing these source missions enough, there was a certain threshold, maybe 10 or 15 in a row, where I would all of a sudden start getting the same mission over and over and over again. And in my case, it was between 2 different missions. There was one time where I got the go to Sandy Shores Airfield over and over and over, and that was awesome because each time it would only take me about 3 minutes to complete. But I also had a stretch where it kept telling me to go to Alamo Sea or Paleto Bay, and I ended up spending like 5-10 minutes just trying to find a new source mission. So I don't know if that happens for everybody, but it happened for me twice on 2 different occasions. It's when you get deep into the grind, sometimes it just keeps giving you the same mission. So if that happens to you, hopefully it's one of the missions that are easier to do. So as I said before, this grind was expected to take me about 4 hours, and it ended up taking me just over 4 hours because I was going at a leisurely pace. If you're trying to go really fast, you could likely get it done in under 4 hours, maybe 3 hours and 45 minutes, but just over 4, and we finally had 25 crates of narcotics and 25 crates of chemicals. And the reason why I went for both was because we would now get a 35% bonus on the final sale. Now, if I were to sell them normally, I would make just over 1 million for each sale, but because I knew that there was only 1 sell vehicle for the sell missions, I decided to do both in public lobbies, which was a bit risky. The first sale mission, we got lucky. We had 1 delivery to make. All I had to do was attach a cab to a trailer and drive it to a location. I decided to actually call up my Phantom Wedge to make it easier, so that one was a breeze, but the second one required me to make 10 deliveries in the city. Now, luckily for me, the location of the deliveries was along a railway in a part of the city that it would be hard for me to be griefed, so I got lucky with that. but if you are doing these sell missions, do be careful because there will be times where you'll get 10 deliveries and it could end up being in the city. Now, luckily, I was able to do both missions successfully, which means in about 4.5 hours time, I made $3 million, working out to about $700,000 per hour, which is really good. That's better than the Dr. Dre contract. That's better than everything in the game except for the Cayo Perico Heist. But here's the catch, and this is the reason why I posed the question at the beginning of the video, is because in a 4-hour block, the hangar actually makes more money than the Cayo Perico Heist, assuming that you're only getting 1.3 to 1.4 million per Cayo Perico Heist. In a 4-hour block, let's say you could get in a maximum of 2 heists done, that's only 2.6 to 2.8 million, whereas with the hangar, you're making 3. So it beats out the Cayo Perico Heist just slightly in that way, but in reality, there's nothing that's going to beat the Cayo Perico Heist because out of that 4 hours, you would only actually be doing the heist for 2, meaning that you have 2 hours to do whatever you want. So in reality, if you want the most money possible in a larger time frame, like 3-4 hours, the hangar might be what you need to do. But if you want to make fast money and easy money and make it somewhat enjoyable, the Cayo Perico Heist is always going to be the best thing to do in the game. Now, I went into this video almost knowing that was going to be the outcome, but I wanted to see if the hangar would be worth it, or if it would be more enjoyable to grind than the Cayo Perico Heist, and I could tell you right away, it is not. When you're only doing 3 of the same missions over and over and over for 4 hours straight, it gets boring, it gets annoying. So realistically, I would use the business as something to do in between, let's say, Cayo Perico Heist cooldowns or in a cool off time during a heist, but I wouldn't grind it for 4 hours straight because I just don't think it's that enjoyable. But everyone has their preferences, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of the business in the comment section down below, because it really has become one of the best in the game. Now it's just up to whether you like grinding it or not. So with that $3 million that I made, I decided to buy 2 of the newest cars released in the entire game. So the first car that I picked up is one that was just added to the game. It's a new rally car, the La Carouse. I don't know, I probably butchered that name, my apologies. But this thing is a ton of fun to drive around. Now I fully customized it. I put race yellow on it because it does give very much a rally car feel. And I had the nice spoiler with the racing stripes. I took this thing for a spin, and I'm telling you, I think it's near impossible to spin out with this car. The handling is next level on it. The speed is fairly good, and it's a ton of fun to drive, so I'm really glad that I picked it up, and I'm going to see if it's something that I could use in races for future videos. That would be a ton of fun. I think it's one of the better cars that they've released in a very long time. The other car that I picked up is the Buffalo EVX. I believe this is the electric version of the Buffalo. Fairly decent car. It drives, or it handles like a boat, so don't expect to do any kind of crazy getaways in this thing, but it's fairly decent and sort of what you would expect from a muscle car to a degree. But all around, at the end of the day, I think it was just sort of a bad purchase on my end, not my kind of thing, but I thought I would try it out. Is what it is. And that is all for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.